This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today by Clint Winegar, Houston Pilots, to discuss this harbor pilot organization, its fleets, crews, and the chief challenges that it's facing today. So, to start us off, Clint, can you provide us a brief career background, biography, insights on when and why you knew that yours would be a career in maritime?
Sure. Thanks, Greg, for having me. My name is Clint Winegar. I'm currently the presiding officer of the Houston Pilots. I grew up down the coast here in LaPorte, Texas. My grandfather actually was a big instigator in this. Him and I, him and I used to go to the barber shop together, and he was a harbor pilot here. And when I was probably 11 or 12 years old, we were supposed to go to the barber shop, and my mom and grandmother took off to go shopping, and he was supposed to have some time off for us to get our hair cut. But a guy called in sick, and he had to go to work. He didn't want to leave me at the house by himself, so he said, "Oh, hell with it, come on with me." So I remember, always kind of idolizing my grandfather anyway. But that ship ride that day just kind of sealed the deal. He was the first one in our family that ever got into maritime. He had dropped out of school at 14 years old, started working on a harbor tug, and then kind of gave the rest of the family that, I don't know, appetite for a maritime life. So followed in kind of his footsteps. I was the first one to go to school. I went to A&M Galveston, and after college started working on product and chemical tankers for roughly 10 years, and then was blessed to get into the local group. For me here in Houston, I got to stay home and where I was born and raised, so that was pretty special. And to be in the same place my grandfather had been, because in Texas there's no nepotism, so you can't in fact you can't get in the same group that you have a family member. So sometimes that's a little challenging. But yeah, and I've been with Houston now for 20 years.
Let's discuss, if we will, Ken, the organization. And I'm sure many watching this know the Houston Pilots, but can you give us a by the numbers look at Houston Pilots today?
We move roughly 20,000 ships a year. That just to from a perspective, it's more than LA and New York combined. And but without all that ship traffic, there's 10 times as many tow traffic. So there's about 200,000 tow movements a year on the channel. So it's just a constant flow of traffic. So we don't have a lot of strong currents and that kind of thing that some other ports have a challenge with. Ours is mainly about traffic management. We have a pilot getting boarded or disembarking from a ship every 20 minutes. So roughly 60 ships a day.
Can we talk a little bit, I guess, more about the fleet?
Sure. We're a little unique. We're one of three pilot groups in the country that have a station boat, or what we call a bar boat. And for our uniqueness and having a ship every 20 minutes, we got aboard. It just didn't make sense to shuttle people back and forth. And so, many years ago, we tried with this kind of a station boat, kind of a larger boat, but guys got seasick, and it was real tough to sit out there at any length of time, and to get any rest at all, because we generally try to take a ship out of Houston, get off on our pilot boat, wait for a return vessel to come back in. And that could be anywhere from, typically it's probably maybe no more than an hour or two, but it could be as much as 5 to 7 hours waiting on that second job. So it was probably 25 years ago thereabouts when we came across a design. It was called a swath design, and one of our pilots who was interested in new designs and new technologies said, "Man, we might want to consider that." So finally got up enough people to go out there and take it for a run and ride around in it, and really sold the group on it. They bought one, brought it over, and it kind of just changed the course of our work, because guys got good rest on it. It just sits out there and does circles. It was so popular that one of the pilot conventions, a international pilot group, the German pilots heard about it, and they came and rode the vessel, and they said, "You know what? Your channel, your waterway is just like ours. It's about 50 miles long. We got about the same amount of traffic, kind of do about the same thing. maybe this design could work for us. And they wrote it and they loved it. They actually got their shipyard to come and took all kinds of measurements and went back to Germany and started building them. And so they built that design now for the German pilots, the Dutch pilots, and so when it was probably 7 years ago when ours were about to end their lifespan because they're good for about 20 years. We went to Germany to build the last two. So we recently 2017 got delivered two new swath boats that are our current bar boats. And so what they do is a week on at a time, week on, week off. So when it's on its off time, it's at our dock. It gets all of its maintenance done. Um, so then to get from our dock in Galveston out to the boats or from the boats back out or for crew changes, we have what we call shuttle boat. Shuttle boats are a similar design to what most pilot groups operate. We're in the process of getting our second one delivered. We just had a recent one delivered. We ordered two a couple years ago, so we just received one. The second one should come in December, and they're 80 foot long. They're three jet engines, and the Galveston pilots about a year or so ago, added a Seakeeper to theirs, and that Seakeeper technology has really advanced a lot in the recent history. So it offers such a stable platform of taking that side roll out of things, especially when you're coming in towards a ship before to do a safe transfer. It really levels out that boat, and so we kind of stole their idea on that, and we incorporated that Seakeeper on our two new boats, and the first one's been incredible to operate. It was really shocking for us that it was that good.
Can we take a little bit deeper dive into the workforce? And again, you have a high volume. Um, can you talk a little bit more about the crews, an overview of the pilot workforce, and discussion of the chief challenges that you have to attracting and developing the talent that you want and need?
Sure. Um, we currently, with as many vessels we have a shuttle boat and a bar boat operating 24 hours a day, right? So we do 12-hour shifts. We have a captain on the outside boat and one on the inside boat, and then on the offshore boat we also have two crew members. One to make sure that the pilot or pilots are getting safely on and off the vessel, and the other one is to any kind of transfer, whether that's bags or gear, for the vessel, for the pilot. Also, to make sure that in the event of, God forbid, a pilot falls overboard, and to help retrieve that individual, on board, and get it out of the water, get them out of the water. So two crew members plus a boat captain offshore, and then inshore would be one deckhand and one captain. And so we typically we're just kind of home growing in a way, our crew, and trying to find new individuals to kind of start up from as a deckhand and kind of work up to operator. But here recently we're getting more and more success. We partnered with a junior college, and they have a maritime program that's a 2-year degree, and they get a limited tonnage license at the completion of that program. And so they also do an internship during their summer year, and so we're taking a lot of those interns, and they deckhand for us, and they kind of learn what we do. And so we've been getting quite a few individuals from that program. It's been a big success for us. There's not a lot of maritime jobs that you don't have to be gone for an extended period of time, right? So this is a unique um, you know position where you spend 12 hours away from home on a boat. You get to have fun on a boat, right? But then you get to be home every day.
Are there any other overriding conditions of your operation to make your services essential, really, to safe, efficient navigation?
Like I said, the biggest challenges are traffic, but as far as environmental goes, we have two major ones, and that's fog. It's the F word we don't like to talk about around here, and and so we have a bad fog season, and we don't have that the challenging fog that maybe some of the West Coast and stuff does, where they have it all the time, but maybe it's a light misty fog where you can kind of still see. Here, when we have fog, it's you can't see your hand in front of your face, and so it completely shuts things down. And you'll have a weather report that says, "Oh, no fog tonight," and it'll be shut out. And the next night, they're like 100% fog, and it'll be none. So it's a real challenge of like, do we go, do we not go, and and then you go, and then it hits you, and so what do you do in those circumstances? And so that's a real challenge because Houston's also such a big driver for especially in the state of Texas, but the country, and an economic driver. We're the ship channel's 20% of the state's GDP. It's over a $1 trillion economic impact to the country. And so you just do the math real quick of what one day fog closure does to the economy. It's massive. So we don't like closing the ship channel down if we don't have to. And then the other flip to that is fog in that March time frame, but then you got hurricane season now, right, from August to November. And so that's the other challenge for us, is these storms pop up. And last year was a big challenge because when they're coming across Africa and you can kind of track them their whole way across, you can kind of get prepared for it. But last year we had two pop up in the Southern Gulf. And so, they hit us within a couple of days of forming. There's no time to react. And, in both cases, we thought they were going into Brownsville, and then just a slight turn north, hits us. You don't know. So those are challenges that we face and try to work through. And during the hurricane events, one of the tools that we added to our arsenal is a helicopter. So we are on contract with a helicopter company during that hurricane season to provide us that extra ability of of getting vessels out, potentially at the last minute if something forms pretty late and all of a sudden it's too rough offshore to get us off. We can still get those ships out of here, and the pilot doesn't have to follow it to, its next port in South America, through a hurricane. We can get off on that helicopter and come back home. But that's been a good asset for us as well.
When you look at the maritime industry in general, obviously there's a lot of mega trends that are driving this business today. So, which of those trends, or the trends that I didn't even mention that you care to identify, have the greatest impact on your ability to deliver efficient, effective, safe pilot operations?
Yeah, this is a great point because our big concern is the what turns out, or what starts as a good idea, the unintended consequences of them. Like when they first started with the ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, um, you know, these old ships, the seals couldn't handle that very thin fuel. A lot of the ships were overheating. They didn't have the lubricant qualities for the cylinders. They were having fuel leaks and engine room fires. And then you move to they finally kind of fixed that part of it. But now you get to where there's this big push for no carbon or zero emissions by 2050, right? So to be carbon neutral by 2050 has given this other unintended consequences. They have these. They're starting to put engine power limiters on vessels, some of which is used by a set screw that can't be overridden without the engine stopped, the engineer going down there and taking the set screw off the engine for then it to go again. So you find yourself, some of these vessels need every bit of propulsion they can to safely maneuver. They're already technically probably underpowered from a pilot's perspective. to be able to navigate through, a challenge, obstacle course, if you will, with all the vessels moving around. Just go ahead and reduce the power on it and add to those challenges. So we really worked hard with the Coast Guard, and because this came from IMO, it got much bigger than us on trying to um, unravel some of these things. But the Coast Guard was very supportive. A lot of the trade groups like Intertanko and others were very supportive on not having a major disaster in a port uh, uh, under the pretense of trying to save some emissions.
You have many challenges. It's technical, it's personnel safety, it's legislative. Can you discuss how your organization is investing today to overcome these challenges?
For us, and a little unique, and I understand, others maybe don't quite take this approach, but for us, we realize that most pilot groups want to stay under the radar. They don't want people to even know they exist. They want, the ships to move in and out and no one know they have anything to do with any of it. And totally understand that perspective. But for us, um, we became much more active to get the message out and to have people know what we do, that they don't find out what we do after a disaster. They find out like that we do exist and that we are such an integral part of things, and to get ahead of some of these issues like the engine power limiter and some of those things, that if they don't know we exist, we can't help or move the needle on some of those things. So we became much more active in promoting, state pilotage and why there's such a need for it, and to keep the commerce going. And I think people saw some of that during COVID when they couldn't get their Amazon packages. They were trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and so now we're trying to use that as an opportunity to show, how important the ships come in and out and how they come in safely, and to be leaders on that.